Welcome, everybody. We've missed seeing you. I'm Miss Shepherd. This is Miss Ross. Some of you know us, some of you don't, but we are thinking of all of you. And since we are no longer able to come and offer the Eastern services as we have been doing, we wanted to still be in touch. And we hope that this video way of being in contact could work. So we're trying it out. But mostly we just want you to know that we are your Dhamma friends. We are thinking of you. We are practicing along with you in our hearts. We hope you are practicing because we know that that is absolutely the best way to help you get through this very challenging time. I know all of you work with the pain of being separated from friends and family all of the time, not only when COVID-19 is around. But through doing that, you've also learned that physical presence is wonderful when we can have it, but it is absolutely not the most important aspect of being connected. That our connections are through our hearts, and that we can keep connected to people through keeping them in our hearts and in our minds, through writing them letters, through talking on the phone when we can, through email when we can, through video when we can. But that even when we can't do any of those things, people are with us and available to us in our hearts, in our memories, in how important they are to us, and in our own well wishes for them. So I hope that you're able to keep those you care about in your heart and send them good wishes, because I know they are all doing the same for you, even if you're not able to be with them or see them during this time. So Ms. Ross and I are going to offer a service sort of like what we do when we come in person. We'll chant, we'll light the candles on the shrine. We have a shrine. We'll light the candles and incense on the shrine. Then we'll do a chant together so that we don't get feedback. Just one of us will do the chant each time. So I'll do the chant at the opening. And then we'll go into meditation. We'll do a short meditation, and Ms. Ross will lead us in a guided meditation. There'll be a bell at the beginning and a bell at the end. And then at the end of the meditation, we'll have a short conversation. I'll share some thoughts. Ms. Ross will share some thoughts. We'll have another chant, and then we'll close for this service. So I'll go over, and Ms. Ross, you want to say anything to just welcome folks?
No, just that I'm glad to be here, and we are holding you in our hearts, even though we can't get there.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll go and light the candles and the incense on the shrine. Okay. And the chant we're going to do is the one called the Reflections on Universal Well-Being. I know some of you have the chant book. If you do, it's the one on page 26. If you don't, there's no problem, just listen along. Now let us chant the Reflections on Universal Well-Being. abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs.
Now I'll lead a guided meditation. So we'll let the sound of the bell transition us from chanting to our meditation practice. So ring the bell 3 times at the beginning and 3 at the end. So with the fading of the bell, we can come into our meditation practice, maybe first by just setting our intention of why we're here, why we practice. We each maybe have our own intention. Maybe it's to be calmer, maybe it's to understand the mind, just whatever. Like what brings you here to practice today? This isn't a goal, this is just an inclination of the mind, what we're looking at, what inspires us to come to practice. And then we can let that go. And start by becoming aware of our posture, our meditation seat. So we want to feel grounded. So the lower part of our body, our hips, our butt, our legs, we're feeling grounded to support us. So feeling that groundedness. And from that grounding, feeling the spine then from the hips up to the top of the head, feeling the spine upright, supportive, so moving upwards, not stiff, but just alive. So having an alive, upright spine enlivens the mind. You may even feel the difference when you intentionally brought more energy to the spine. The mind woke up just a little bit. So we have a strong base, spine that's moving upright but yet relaxed. The shoulders are relaxed, the chest is open. The head is balanced on the spine, not forwards or backwards. So we feel balanced, sitting right in the middle. The eyes can be either opened or closed, whatever works for you. If your eyes are closed, it allows you to not have visual distraction. But if you need to keep your eyes open, that's okay. Just have a soft gaze. So we want to just bring to our meditation posture an intentionality of solidity at our base, yet alert, upright attention, the spine supporting an alert and open mind. So we'll be relaxed but supported. So we can feel the body being supported on the cushion. So really just feel that, feeling the body resting on its support. And we can feel the mind resting in the body, however you sense that. Maybe a lot of times you feel the mind is up in your head, but the mind is also in touch with all the sensations in the body. So maybe be open, relax the idea of what the mind is, and sense the mind in the whole body. Not forcing that, but just being open to that as a possibility. The mind resting deep in the body, this awareness. So that allows the mind to be grounded in the body. And that allows it to be more settled. So we train in our meditation by choosing a meditation object, and you may have one that you work with, but it gives the mind something to keep coming back to, because thoughts always want to take off and wander. So choosing a meditation object gives us something to be grounded in. You may want to ground in a meditation object of the body, sensations in the body. Maybe you listen to sounds. And if you don't have an object that you always work with, the breath is always a good one to use. So we'll just set the intention to bring the mind into awareness of our meditation object. And if it's the breath, it can simply be when you're breathing in, to know you're breathing in. And when you're breathing out, that you're breathing out. So you're setting the intention to train the mind by paying attention to this meditation object, to ground the attention of the mind in the present moment. So just practice with staying with your meditation object. Again, if it's the breath, just knowing breathing in is like this, breathing out is like this. And we can notice how the mind is if it stays with our object. We can just notice that and notice how the mind is. But if the mind has wandered off somewhere, started thinking, planning, remembering, just go, no, what's this like now? It's like this. The mind thinking is like this. How is it? And then ask ourselves, what do we intend to do? Oh, we were supposed to pay attention to the meditation object. And we can gently, patiently bring the mind back to that intention to be with the object. Noticing where the mind is, if it's still with the object, or if it's drifted off someplace else. So noticing where the mind is, noticing how it is. Does it feel anxious, relaxed, spacious, tight? Just how is the mind? Not trying to change it, not trying to force anything, just noticing how it is. In this way we can learn about our mind, where it goes, how it is when it goes there. And then we can come back to our training of our intention to rest the mind in our meditation object. And noticing how the mind is when it stays with that meditation object versus when it's off, wandering, thinking. And noticing again where the mind is. If it's still with the object or if it's gone off. How it is. And resetting our intention to be with the meditation object. And this time maybe we can set the intention to notice when there's any amount of stillness. Maybe if you're watching the breath, you can notice at the pause between the in-breath and the out-breath, there's just a place where everything stops and opens up. Or maybe if you're watching the body, you can notice a place where you feel calm or ease, relaxed. So noticing where there's spaciousness or groundedness, any amount of ease. You can notice the mind is like this right now. My experience is like this right now. This is how it is. Can this be okay?
Thank you, Miss Ross. That was lovely. So at this point, we thought we would talk about some of the teachings And I thought we'd focus on a verse from the Dhammapada, because I know many of you have copies of the Dhammapada. So the verse we're going to be talking about is version 95, and it might be that your translation is slightly different than the one we use. And that's always sort of interesting, too, to look at different translations. So the way I thought I'd do this is I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I'll read through it. And I'll also then give a moment or two, a minute or so, for you to read it afterwards in silence. And then I'll remove it from the screen and we'll talk. So here is the verse. I'm going to put it up on the screen. So verse 95 from the Dhammapada. There are those who discover they can leave behind confused reactions and become patient as the earth, unmoved by anger, unshaken as a pillar, unperturbed as a clear and quiet pool. So we'll just leave it there for a moment or two for you to read through it yourself. So the Dhammapada is a collection of short verses like this from the Buddha. And the whole collection is pretty powerful. So this one happens to be one that's really my favorite, because this whole idea that we might be able to leave behind confused reactions is so beautiful to me. To become as patient as the earth, to think about how patient the earth in fact is. The earth doesn't get upset when things are dropped on it. To be unmoved by anger. To have anger arise, but it doesn't cause us to get all unsettled and upset. It's not that it's never there. It's a part of the world. It's a part of human reactions, human emotions. But to be unmoved by it, that's what this is pointing to. To not let it take control. To know, oh, here's anger. Anger just walked in the door. I don't have to do anything about that. It's just there. And it will walk out the door at some point. To be as unshaken as a pillar. To be still. Not easily overwhelmed. Not easily knocked off our ground, off our base. One of the synonyms for nibbana, for complete awakening, for enlightenment, is unshakable peace. That's always been the one that moves me the most. Unshakable peace. Peace that is so steady, so solid. Nothing can move it. Nothing can shake it. Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be a true gift to ourselves and to the world? Unperturbed, unirritated, unbothered, unagitated, unshaken, as a clear and quiet pool. Just smooth, even, clear, bright, cool. So the man who made these translations, his name is Ajahn Muninda. He's a monk in England. So he does these translations of the Dhammapada, and then he always writes a brief reflection himself on it. So I'm going to read you his reflection on this verse. He says, the Buddha lived in this world as we do. And despite all the turmoil, because all worlds have turmoil, ours has turmoil now. When the Buddha lived, there was turmoil as well. Despite all the turmoil, he realized a state of imperturbability, not being agitated, shaken, upset. To become patient as the earth. Whatever is poured on it, burnt on it, or done to it, the earth just goes on being what it is and doing what it does. Patient endurance is not a weak option. It is strengthening and kind. With patient endurance, we discover the ability to allow our present experience to be here, just as it is, until we have learned what we need to learn. So this idea of patient endurance is one that we often think of as gritting our teeth and just waiting it out. But of course, that's not at all the kind of patient endurance that the Buddha is pointing to. The Buddha is pointing to a kind of patience, a willingness to endure that isn't resisting or struggling, but that is understanding that something has arisen. This is what is present. This is how things are right now. They will not stay this way. They will change. And that my resistance and struggle and irritation and anger and all perturbedness, all of that doesn't change it. It makes it worse. It adds a layer of suffering I do not need to have. And so bringing patience is what allows us to move through the experience of living as a human being in an imperfect world without adding additional pain, without causing ourselves suffering we do not need. It doesn't help us and doesn't add anything to our experience. Patient endurance, on the other hand, adds to our experience. It gives us an ability to experience the world as it is with a sense of calm, of confidence in our ability to face what arises. It is based upon really a deep confidence that we have truly what we need to survive. Because what we need to survive is what's inside. It's our sense of being able to draw upon kindness, upon generosity, upon wisdom, upon clarity of seeing things as they really are, without being perturbed, without getting knocked off our center, without jumping to conclusions, without feeling we have to react, boom, fast. Giving ourselves that moment to pause, to consider what right now is for the best interest of me and others. What is for my best long-term well-being? It's based on an understanding that everything that arises, the Buddha said it as everything that is of the nature to arise is of the nature to cease. That was the fundamental understanding he was trying to communicate in his teachings. To recognize that the world is filled with beginnings and endings, arisings and ceasings, and our role, task, job, purpose is to live through that, live with that, and be able to bring to it in every moment some wisdom, some patience, some calm, like the earth. To be there, like the earth. Present, awake, mindful, not checked out, fully present, fully able to appreciate the beauties of what are present, the incredible kindness that is present, if we see it, if we notice it, if we look for it, as well as knowing the pain and suffering and evil and harsh actions that may be present too. Knowing it all and not letting any of it knock us off ground. Thinking of how can my own heart He is unperturbed, as at ease, as beautiful as a clear and quiet pool. So I guess those are the things I think about when I read this verse. And I'll pass it to Miss Ross and see what she thinks about it when she reads this verse.
Well, thank you. And I wasn't familiar with this until we decided to do this today. And so when I read it, especially thinking about the earth, the word that came to me about the patiently endure, and not even enduring, but just, patient watching, which is what our practice is about. That guided meditation I did, it's about like patiently watching what's unfolding so that we can learn from it, not reacting to it. But the one word that really came to me in this teaching is witness.
Mm.
And especially because the night of the Buddha's enlightenment, he touched the earth and said, I want the earth to be my witness, so this whole thing of the earth as witness. But that's what we can be doing in our practice, is witnessing ourselves, right? We can use our own wisdom to witness what our mind is up to and do it with love and, care, but witnessing it, and then we can learn from that and, but doing it in an unperturbed way that allows us to see the truth of where our mind is coming from, what it's doing, what it's up to. So this is like, this verse to me is both the promise of what we could become, but it's also the earth as witness is a symbol of how we can get there. It's also the path as well as the goal. And just that idea of being peacefully watching, when I think of like a witness in a marriage ceremony, it's somebody who's off to the side that's wishing well for the couple, right? And we're witnessing what's happening here, but with an open heart, wishing well. And if we can bring that kind of witnessing to our own practice, so instead of beating our minds up when they go off wandering thinking, the witnessing awareness can just go, oh, look at what just happened. This is not really helpful, and then the wise witness can then encourage the mind to come back to a more stable place, in that place of calm. And by seeing, what happens when we become reactive versus when we're really present, just in a calm way, by really paying attention as a observant witness, an unreactive witness, once we see the wisdom of coming back to a place of non-reactivity where we're not as volatile, then the mind learns to let go on its own of all the crazy reactivity. And it just, through dispassion, through wisdom, it comes back to a place of knowing that this place of rest is where to be. But we do that by witnessing, by watching, by paying attention. And that's all in this sutta. And that whole thing about the clear pool, that reflects everything clearly, and it's not clouded by turbulence. That's our clear, open mind. And so there's the water and the earth elements, so it's all part of nature. And, our mind can be okay with how things are in nature, because nature is unpredictable, as as we all know, whether it's disease or storms or whatever. But nature comes back to a settled point, and we can learn to do that too without having to take it personally when things flare up. So that's kind of what this said to me. Witness was the one word I think that came out of it.
It's beautiful. I love it. And I love too how, you're pointing out that it's saying our mind is nature, right? Our mind is the clear pool. It can be the clear pool. Our mind can be the earth that is solid, steady, stable, unshaken, and always changing, just like our mind, always moving. Wow. Thank you, Ms. Ross. That was lovely. So we hope to try this again. We hope we'll figure out how to get it to you, and the chaplains will be able to somehow stream it for you. I know in some of the prisons, the chaplains have said that they would be willing to receive questions from you that then could be relayed to us. So if you want to give that a try, if there is something you'd really like us to do in these services or something you'd like us to talk about, ask your chaplain if they would be willing to let us know that, and we would then be happy to do that. I don't know if they'll be willing to do that, but give it a try. See if sending a note to your chaplain to ask us to speak about something in particular or address a question is possible, because we'd be happy to do that. So this verse actually is referring to an entire sutta where the Buddha talks about the four elements and how the four elements are like this, unprovoked and calm. So maybe that's what we'll do next time. I don't know. We'll see. Miss Ross and I will talk and we'll come up with something. So we'll, I think, end the service as we always do with the chant and the bell. And please just know that we are thinking of you and wishing you well. Miss Ross, you want to end this for us?
So the closing chant will be Reflections on Sharing Blessings. It's page 24 if you have the chant book. If not, you can just listen and take in the words. So this is about any goodness that comes from our practice. It's not self-centered. It's for the well-being of all beings. So we do this practice with an open heart to share with all beings. And so that's what this has to do with. So. Reflections on Sharing Blessings, page 24. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest guides and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind. Until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. So we can take a moment to reflect on any benefit that we receive from our practice here today. Maybe it's the sharing of our practice, feeling connected to each other. Maybe it opened our heart just a little bit more. Made us feel calmer, connected. Or maybe there was something in the teaching that spoke to us that we really felt like we could benefit from take into our life to make ourselves feel a little calmer and saner. So any benefit that we may get from this practice, we can really receive that, know we're worthy of that. We can also make the intention to share these benefits with those around us, with our friends, with our family. We do this practice so that we may benefit, but that we may benefit other beings as well. May all beings be happy, may they be peaceful, may they be free from suffering and free from anxiety, free from turmoil. May all beings be at ease, without exception.